Are you having trouble with some tricky sounds in the Korean language? You need to practice, of course, but how? There are many ways, but I want to suggest a really cool method. Try practicing with this one super sentence that I wrote for you, and you will see a lot of improvement quite soon. So let me show you the sentence and read it for you once. So just pay attention to this and see what kind of sounds there are in this sentence. Here it is. 오늘은 바쁜 일정도 많이 없고 약속도 없어서 국립박물관 앞에서 의자에 앉아서 따뜻한 음료수를 마시고 있었는데 갑자기 코끼리랑 까마귀가 나타나서 저한테 편의점에 같이 가줄 수 있냐고 했어요. So that's the sentence. I'm not mocking anybody, but if you sound currently like 오늘은 바쁜 일정도 like that, you need a lot of practice, a lot more practice than say on average, but even if you already sound quite comfortable and quite fluent, there will be like mini little details that you need to actually drill down on and then practice. So let's break it down and see why each element is important. So the first one is 오늘은, the first portion, 오늘은. It's the sound as well as the real sound. A lot of people, a lot of learners actually emphasize the real part too much and they end up sounding like 오늘은, but it's a very soft real, almost like a lazy L. So almost like also the rolling R. So 오늘은, 바쁜. So this also refers to the distinction between the 비읍 and the 쌍비읍, double 비읍. So 바쁜, it's not 바쁜, it's 바쁜, okay, 바쁜, higher pitched. So practice that, saying 바쁜, 바쁜, 바쁜 multiple times, and you will get better at the double 비읍, 쌍비읍. And then 일 plus 정, although it's written as 일 plus 정, but the real in the first syllable of the word affects the 지읒 and it becomes 일정. 많이, 많이, here the H equivalent in the Korean language, which is the 히읗, is silent. So it's not 많이, it's 많이, 마 plus 니은 carrying over to the next syllable, 많이. And then 없고, this 시옷 in up is silent here, and then 비읍 and 기역 together, it becomes 없고, okay? It's not 없고, it's 없고. And then the next one is 약속도, 약속도, okay? Double sounds in the second and the third syllables. And then the next one is 없어서. So here, this one is also tricky because even if you do know that the 시옷 can be silent, in this case, it's carried over to 없어, but at the same time, after it's being carried over to the second syllable, 비읍 still affects the 시옷 in the second syllable, which had been carried over. It becomes 없어서, 없어서. So it's a good practice for pronouncing the double 시옷 and the regular 시옷, single 시옷 together. 없어서. The pitch is like kind of higher in the second syllable. 없어서. And then 국립박물관, National Museum. So 국립, even though it's ending with 기역 in the first syllable, the 기역 carries over to combine with 리을 and it becomes 이응니은, 국립, 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 국립박물관. 기역 and 미음 also becomes 이응, 박물관. And this is the eighth element that I'm introducing in this video. And if you're wondering about the basic or the principles or the detailed rules behind each of these pronunciation phenomenon in the Korean language, you might want to check out our book, How to Sound Like a Native Korean Speaker, which is a very detailed book about Korean pronunciation, all the quirks and interesting situations. 앞에서, the 피읍 at the end of the first syllable carries over to the second syllable. 앞에서, no, 앞에서, 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 in front of. And 의자에, the 의 sound is tricky at first. You want to say and e really quickly, like together, shorten the two sounds. 의자에, 의자에, okay? On the chair, and 앉아서, sitting there. So 앉아서, 안, and then the 지읒 is carried over. 앉아서, it's not silent. And then is always good to practice. So 앉아서, especially when you are like pausing, like 의자에 앉아서. So you will notice that a lot of Korean speakers do this to add some rhythm to their sentences, to add more dynamics, dynamic, I guess, vibes to their sentences. 앉아서, because also when they're pausing, while thinking. And then 음료수, this is also tricky because and then you want to say ryo, but and saying ryo right after a mium is tricky, so it becomes simplified. 음료. So just say 음료 with a nian. 음료수를 마시고 있었는데 갑자기 코끼리랑 코끼리 distinction between 키읔 and 쌍기역, it's tricky. Avoid sounding like 코끼리 and also avoid sounding like 코끼리. It's not 고끼리 either. So 코끼리랑 까마귀가 나타나서. Okay, let's look at 나타나서 first because I wanted to emphasize here in this part the importance of placing your tongue in the correct place, because the English end sound, when you do that, your tongue is touching the upper ceiling of your mouth inside. Na, right? No, na. And then the Korean nian, even though it's romanized with the alphabet N, even though it's like romanized in that way, it's different. You have to put your tongue between your upper and lower teeth, like na. If you pay close attention to my tongue position, na. So 나타나서. It's not 나타나서, it's 나타나서. So pay attention to that. Practice a lot, especially if your nian sounds like the alphabet letter N. 나타나서 저한테. Pay attention so that you do not sound like 저한테. Okay? 저한테. If you somehow keep sounding like 저한테 when you read this portion, try to lower the pitch of your voice a little bit and it'll force the sound to become a little more like 저한테. So 저한테. Lower the pitch. 저한테. It's really hard to sound like 저한테 when you keep your voice low. And then 편의점, this is a fun one because after 편 you have 의 from 의자, but in this case it's pronounced as 편의점. People rarely say 편의점. It's too much work, so 편의점. Of course, the nion carries over to make 편의점. And then the next one is not 같이 or 같이, it's 같이, okay? And 가줄 수. In this one, even though there's a space between 줄 and 수, 줄's real still affects 수 and it makes it 수. 가줄 수 있냐고. It's double 시옷, 쌍시옷 turns into, it becomes similar to the nion. It becomes one with nion and it becomes 있냐고, not 있냐고. It's really hard to do, right? Even if you try to do it, it'll sound like 있냐고. And then lastly, 했어요, the double 시옷 carrying over to the next syllable, 했어요. So let me read the whole thing from top to bottom. But yeah, 오늘은 바쁜 일정도 많이 없고 약속도 없어서 국립박물관 앞에서 의자에 앉아서 따뜻한 음료수를 마시고 있었는데 갑자기 코끼리랑 까마귀가 나타나서 저한테 편의점에 같이 가줄 수 있냐고 했어요. For your practice, let me read it one more time. This time I want you to try to read along with me, okay? Like either 1 second after or at the same time. Let's go. 오늘은 바쁜 일정도 많이 없고 약속도 없어서 국립박물관 앞에서 의자에 앉아서 따뜻한 음료수를 마시고 있었는데 갑자기 코끼리랑 까마귀가 나타나서 저한테 편의점에 같이 가줄 수 있냐고 했어요. So what did you think about this sentence that I wrote for you and this kind of approach, this video lesson? And if you found it useful, you might want to, and you will definitely want to, I want you to check out our book, How to Sound Like a Native Korean Speaker. It's, I think, the best Korean pronunciation book that you can get. We put hundreds of hours of research into it and we're very proud of the outcome. And also, we have a book on how to build longer sentences, build and extend your Korean sentences. And when you combine studying with the pronunciation book and the sentence building book, you can actually create your own pronunciation drill kind of sentence like this one. And if you also have, because everybody has a different point that is challenging for them in terms of pronunciation, like with other things in the language. But if you are able to or were able to in the past to create your own kind of sentence like the one that I created for you in this video, please leave the sentence in the comments. If the sentence has lots of really fun, I guess, challenging pronunciations in one sentence, and if the sentence makes sense, I will try to make another lesson based on your sentence if, that can be done. What do you think? And if you want to follow us here and there, please check out the links in the description of this video. And if you want to just remember one address for everything related to Talk to Me in Korean's activities, it's just talktomeinkorean.com, and you will see our full systematic Korean learning curriculum provided for you there. Please visit us there. We have tons of really useful lessons and courses and books available for you. All right, I will see you in the next one. 감사합니다.